Welcome to the DeFi Standard. This is Patty XRP.
And Mickey B. Fresh. And we got another educational video on a really interesting project that is going to be a parachain on the Polkadot network and is already on the Kusama network. But what's interesting about this project, and Patty's going to go in depth and give a full breakdown on it, but they're part of the confidential computing consortium with R3, Google, Intel, Microsoft, VMware, NVIDIA, Accenture, ARM, Red Hat, and Facebook. So there's some big players that are part of this confidential computing consortium. And just to give a little overview basic before Patty gets into the details, what is confidential computing? Confidential computing will define and accelerate the acceptance and adoption in the market. It uses trusted execution environment, that's blockchain confidential computing solution for data protection. And this consortium protects data in use by performing computation in a hardware-based trusted execution environment. This secure and isolated environments prevent unauthorized access and modifications of applications and data. So this is big with Web3, and it's also big with privacy. So now I'm going to let Patty take it away. I just wanted to give an overview of how, what type of class this project is in, being part of that confidential computing consortium.
Yep. And with that, we'll start off with a brief video that they have introducing the network to get you familiar. So here that is.
Our society generates an ever-growing cloud of data. Storing that data securely and processing it efficiently is a serious responsibility. Web 2 tries, but fails, to meet this need with centralized servers in data centers. And this isn't just any data, it's your data. What if you don't want your privacy, data, and access to cloud services at the mercy of Amazon and Google? Well, then you need an upgrade. But adding privacy usually comes at the cost of performance. Not anymore. Built on Polkadot, Phala network combines the best of Web 2 and Web 3. It gives you the top performance of centralized servers and the trustless privacy of decentralized systems. This blockchain is the first to let you deploy secret-preserving and privacy-protecting smart contracts to a high-performance cloud computing service. Distinguishing itself from other blockchains, Phala actually separates computation from consensus. Computation runs on a global P2P network of thousands of CPU workers inside privacy-protecting secure enclaves. Through Phala's blockchain, gatekeepers trustlessly validate these workers, assign them jobs, and pay them, guaranteeing maximum security and the privacy of your data. With programs executing on secure hardware, Phala can match the execution speed and performance of Amazon and Alibaba Cloud. And since there's no data center to control, no one will deny you access to crucial computing services. Phala Network, the cloud computing protocol where trust meets performance.
There you go. So that's a great overview from the Phala team, and you can see that this is competing with some current products in the market, which would be defined as Web 2.0 with Amazon Web Services and the Alibaba Cloud, which provide computational storage resources and all that kind of stuff for people all across the web. I think some people will be aware that there is some issues that arise from maybe Amazon controlling a ton of the computational resources via like server farms and things like that, as far as they can dictate, who actually is able to benefit from that, and they can cut people off at will, which we have seen happen in the past. And also, if in the future we see governments kind of get more antagonistic towards blockchain and decentralized applications, having something like Phala is a great way to be able to run those, because it's decentralized and trustless, and also you can have that confidentiality attached with it. So it'll be interesting to see how that grows. I mean, they're also, like you said, with that consortium, lumped in with some of these firms that, have control over computational resources and things like that. So I find that interesting, but they are like the new decentralized Web 3.0 model for cloud computations. So with that, let's go ahead and hop into their website, and we'll get that on the screen here. So we can see it's Phala Network, and basically what they're going to be doing is having, like we said, trustless, privacy-preserving cloud computing for general purpose confidential smart contracts on dApps and in DeFi. And with that, they will have tamper-proof trustless execution, which is powered by TEE, Trustless Execution Environment. And that's where this kind of lives within the secure enclave that Mickey was referring to. And this can secure it against system level attacks. So with this, your data is isolated in these secure enclaves, which gives you some of the privacy features. Additionally, trustless, the integrity of code and data is guaranteed, with only authorization actions being allowed. It'll be compatible with a few different standards. Among those is going to be Intel SGX and AMD SEV. So this has to do with your CPU cores on your computer devices. And then additionally, it'll be
That
decentralized.
also, can I just throw it in there? That's part of the confidential computing. They're all using the same standard. So it's an open source standard that Phala is using along with Linux. So that's one thing that's good to know. It's open source, and it's part of all the big boys are doing this. So they're doing this in the public space. They're all doing it in the private space. Sorry, just want to throw that in.
Nope, that's definitely good to hear. And with this, it'll have decentralized data storage. So that is also on top of that. And then as far as their privacy preserving smart contracts go, which will be interoperable with other parachains on Polkadot via their XCMP protocol. And they're going to be credible. So they'll have remote attestation guarantees. It'll be verifiable. So all the code and execution are verifiable on the blockchain. So you can query what's going on and stuff like that, but it's going to hide some of those, privacy, I guess, identifiable stuff along with people's information. And then additionally, like I said, interoperable. So smart contract is 90% less useful without composability. Phala is the only confidential contract protocol that keeps interoperability and composability. And then, like we said, since it's substrate based, which is what Polkadot parachains are generally built on top of, Phala aims to serve any blockchain through Polkadot XCMP. And then with that, they have a couple of products that will be launching on Phala when it gets going. One will be Web3 analytics. So users are going to be able to sell their private data and, earn some kind of fee for it, instead of like us having to opt in to all these different websites on the web that say they're going to store our data and we don't get anything in return. The facts are that, data is more than likely going to be, kind of like the oil it's referred to of the digital economy. And, with that, our data is an asset to us, and Phala's, creating a way for us to earn value from our data if you're cool with letting people use it. And then also they're going to have a what they're calling PDM. So this is going to be a bridge between Facebook's Diem permissioned blockchain and the Polkadot Phala parachain. And with that, that'll mean that the Diem token, which is going to be a stable coin, will be transferable between Phala and the Diem blockchain. And then also you can further send that Diem token that is now on Phala into other parachains. So this opens up the Polkadot ecosystem to, any potential future users of the Diem project over on Facebook, and it allows them to have privacy, which they wouldn't have with Facebook's products that'll be built around Diem, and also gives them access to the centralized applications and things of that nature. So that's really cool. Yeah,
I think that's really huge here, that they're tying in with Diem. They're basically building this bridge and this privacy layer for Diem and Facebook. And what is everyone worried about when they would use Facebook Libra or now Diem? Is Facebook tracking all your data and all your movements? Now you have the ability to move Diem onto the parachains on Polkadot in a private, secure manner. And I think this is huge. DM, even if it's a stable coin, there's no money in it to invest, but it's going to be a big part of the future financial system. Facebook has a network of billions. So this is one of the first projects in the public blockchain sector with crypto that is really integrating DM and is offering an additional solution that it can't provide by itself. So I think that's just important here. And you see all these ties with DM, and that's coming soon. So big announcement there with that.
Absolutely. And with this, we can see some of their partners. So, it's going to be Polkadot, Kusama, Parity, who basically created most of Polkadot and Kusama, Akala, which we've covered in the past. We've also covered Bifrost, and then some other projects looking to be on Polkadot as well. So they'll be able to use some of these computational resources from the Phala blockchain to have like privacy preserving smart contracts, which is really cool, and kind of shows you the power of Polkadot. That Polkadot's almost like, they like to call it like a layer, a half layer, not like layer 1 or layer 0, because it does handle the whole consensus for the ecosystem. But with that, like all of these parachains that are launching are kind of like their own blockchains, just with a shared security model. And that means that they're all interoperable, like we were saying, through XCMP. So that's really cool that, potentially there could be up to 100 parachains and they could be utilizing computational resources from Phala. And so with that, we're going to get into some more of the technology behind this. So TEE computing environment, trust execution environment, that's all TEE is. And it's a special hardware component isolated from the rest of the system. And basically, with independent registers, cache, and encrypted memory area, its operation is completely independent of the operating system, virtual machine monitor, BIOS, and other core components. So basically, this is a part of your CPU that is, meant to be private. And what people are going to be doing on this network is lending that private computing power through their trust execution environment to run confidential contracts on their own devices off chain. And you can be rewarded for that, which we'll talk about more as this goes along. But also, additionally, with this, they have a separation of consensus and computation. So if you're familiar with Polkadot, consensus happens on the Polkadot relay chain, which is like the middle layer for the whole parallel ecosystem of Polkadot. And the computation will be happening on the Phala parachain. So it separates those two out and does them in parallel instead of trying to stack them on top of each other. And so with this, similar to other parachains that have collators, Phala will have entities called gatekeepers, which are responsible for ordering and composing the blocks that will be basically memorialized on the Polkadot relay chain. So that's how that will work. And then one of their big things is composability of blockchains and contracts, basically stating if a smart contract is not composable or interoperable with other blockchains, or in this instance, other parachains, it really hampers, what the abilities of that smart contract are into the future. And so some of the applications and use cases for this stuff, so like we said, confidential DeFi and dApps, they'll have a cross-chain confidentiality layer, which is what they're building with DM. They also have a bridge that does the same to Ethereum as well. And then they're going to have trustless privacy data computation and exchange. So that's kind of talking about being able to sell and trade data. So like maybe a firm wants to run some kind of analytics on user data on the internet. They could pay to basically get access to data to do so. You could use this for AI and healthcare, and then joint risk control. So those are some of the use cases to start off with. And then, so moving into the next thing, we'll talk about the native asset of the Phala network, which is going to be the Phala token. And the use cases of this token will be for paying for confidential computing resources. So this could be CPU time, on-chain storage, network bandwidth, off-chain storage, and other resources that'll be available. Additionally, it's the native token for any of these confidential contracts. It also can help with the security guarantee of the network. So individuals, similar to how you can nominate validators on the Polkadot relay chain to earn rewards. You can nominate gatekeepers on the Phala parachain in order to earn the inflation of the native asset Phala. And additionally, they'll have a DAO governance, which, Mickey, you may love this. They're implementing liquid democracy on Phala. So something relating back to Flare, which is cool to see. So they'll be taking that route. People will be able to join the DAO if you have enough Phala tokens. I don't know what the minimum amount is going to be. We'll have to see, I guess, as people try and join that. There will also be ways if you don't have enough to kind of get assessed by current DAO members. And if you bring enough to the table, you can get into there. Now, the DAO is going to be balanced with all the Phala users on the network. So all the Phala token holders still can participate in governance, but DAO is like another layer that can say, hey, this is like a really bad idea and things like that. So kind of like almost like a governing council, but there's some elections that go on with that. And it's going to be similar to anybody that's familiar with Moloch DAO on the Ethereum blockchain. And then also it can be used for other payments. So Web3 analytics, cross-chain bridges, and things of that nature.
Also, I guess we need to talk about what Phala here is. I was pretty impressed when Patty said, hey, research and look into this. We've looked into a bunch of parachains now, and some of them don't have their tokens out yet. They're not out. You're going to receive them when you put up the DOT in the Parachain loan offering. Some started on Kusama and are making their way also to Polkadot. What's unique here about the Phala token is it's already out on the market. It's currently an ERC20. Recently, it was just added to Binance Smart Chain's Pancake Swap, and it also has a Parachain slot established already on Kusama. They already won one there. So this is now an already established project, in my opinion, I feel. And they're moving away from Ethereum. So it's not going to stay in ERC20. So this token already exists. So now if you do put up DOT for the Parachain loan auctioning on Polkadot, it's going to be one of the first few, we think, right, Patty? Parachain auctions on Polkadot. None have happened yet on Polkadot, but they're happening on Kusama. And if you notice, Kusama went almost up $100 yesterday. And that's because you're locking up the native token here. And I do like the liquid democracy, Patty, because governance needs to be kind of tiered. You have that native Polkadot governance in the center hub for the validators. And now this parachain has its own governance to manage it. And with privacy and secure computation, that will draw a lot of app development, especially from DM. I mean, they're integrated directly with that bridge. So that's the first project I've seen really integrated with DM. And personally, I just think Polkadot's going to be a powerhouse, and it's a sleeping giant right now. And that's why Patty and I are going through all these projects. And trusted execution environments for smart contracts and dApps is the next big thing right now. If you're seeing R3 do it, Google do it, Intel do it, VMware do it, Microsoft, it's big. It's even possible Polysign's doing that too. So they're ahead of the game here with this. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and so to add on to that, they had some little like incentive things to get people to participate in their test nets, like in 2020 and stuff like that. So that's what got the token out there originally. They kind of just were rewarding people for participating in the network or maybe being ambassadors and things like that and spreading the word. So like the majority of the supply is not on the open market and won't be until they get an actual parachain on Polkadot once those start, looking like sometime in Q4. And with that, we can kind of talk about, so you can get the token if you want, and the ticker's PHA. It'll probably, I would imagine, be the ERC20 version right now for most. But the nice thing is they have a bridge that you can swap into the PHA token on Phala once it gets a parachain slot on Polkadot. But basically, you can get this on Binance, KuCoin, Gate.io, Huobi, Uniswap, OKX, and 1inch.
It's also a Binance Smart Chain right now, too.
Yeah. So that just came out, so probably why it's not updated here yet.
Brand
Yes. And so also other ways to get it. So this is network rewards that you'd be getting. So you contribute your TEE computing power, and they call these TEE miners. What's required there, Intel SGX enabled computer, a certain amount of Phala for staking. So you have to put up a certain amount to start becoming a miner, which I think at today's current prices is around like $1,500 US dollars. And then additionally, you either need to have public IP address or you can join a mining pool. The mining pool will be the easier way for people that don't know as much, because they'll have like operators and stuff that can handle like what's being distributed out to the miners in that pool. And when it's miner, it's not like proof of work mining. It's basically just saying you're providing your secure enclave in your device that is compatible and allowing it to be used for computation, basically, or storage or something of that nature. And then, like we said, they have the gatekeepers and the nominators that earn the inflation rewards. However, a ton of the distribution of the tokens going to go to these people that are being the miners and providing the computing power, which we'll touch on here. So the distribution of the token, 5% is going to the team. They had a 15% token sale, like private sale to VCs and stuff to fund the project. 1%, like I said, was reward for the test net. They're going to have a 9% airdrop for people participating in the Kala and the Phala, Parachain loan offerings. And then 70% in this is a 1 billion token supply. So 700 million Phala tokens will be distributed over the course of around 11 years to people that are participating as TEE miners and lending their devices as a computational resource. So that's a huge amount of the native asset that's going to be going to people that are providing what is the most important there. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I ask a question? I think the audience would be interested to hear. Is it the same token that's on Kusama's Parachain? Is Phala there, or is that a different token?
Yeah, so they have one. It's called KPHA right now.
Okay.
And you'll be able to bring that over to Phala. So they have bridges and stuff.
Okay.
But that's basically tokens. Well, it's just the Kusama version of their native asset. Yeah, basically.
Okay. And second question is the vesting reward schedule going to be released within the first year, or is it going to be 2 years from as you receive those Phala tokens for putting up DOT as a Parachain loan offering? How much is being distributed over those periods, and what's the time frame?
Yeah, so more than likely they will go for a 2-year Parachain slot. That's generally what all of these Parachains are saying they're going to do. I didn't see them state anywhere what that's going to be, but I'm going to assume 2 years. I know you'll get some upfront once the loan offering is successful. So you'll get some upfront, and then the rest will vest over the course of 2 years, which is pretty par for the course on most of these projects.
Now that's dependent on the participation of your value that you put up in DOT versus everyone else's?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're not losing your DOT now. It's like putting it up as a reserve, like you do in a trust line for an XRP ledger, but it's your whole DOT as much as you want to, and you still get capital appreciation, but you just can't access that DOT then for 2 years. But if you watch their other videos, Patty's explained how there's multiple protocols, especially, is it Bifrost?
Bifrost Finance, yeah,
is going to release that value of that bonded DOT that you have put up while you're receiving these airdrops. Think of them as airdrops. You're going to receive a whole year's worth of airdrop. There'll be a little vesting schedule of this native token, and you'll be able to unlock the value of that bonded DOT while it's in there, still earn the capital appreciation, and then deploy that value. Now, you can't stake your DOT at the same time, though. I got a question about that. Patty, you can't simultaneously stake and participate in the Parachain loan offerings. You could split up your DOT on how you want to use it, but you can't do both there.
Yeah, you can't use a DOT token for both. And that's why
do they do Parachain loan auctions, Patty? Why do you think that the Web3 Foundation and Parity have done this? I just think it's brilliant. I just want the audience to know.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So, I mean, think about a proof of stake chain. What are you doing when you basically lock up your tokens behind that validator? You're signaling to the community and the world, whatever you want to say with that, that this is a validator that's good and I'm backing it. It should be included in the active validator set. So, same kind of idea for these parachain slots. If there's a limited number, then there should be some kind of value associated with those. Now, it's not a value that's being paid to anybody, but it's basically a signaling value. So let's say the first parachain on Kusama, or some of the first ones, were going for like, I think, 200 million USD in Kusama tokens that were bonded behind them. It's somewhere to 100 to 200 million. That's a lot of value that's being bonded behind these. And what it's saying is, the community says this is the blockchain, or like the parachain that should be added next. This is what we want. This brings the most benefits to the Polkadot ecosystem. So that's kind of the whole point of it. And it's a way for them to kind of get engaged with the community. They can distribute some of their tokens to these people that are supporting the project and things like that. So to me, it just signals and says, hey, this is a project that the most people want to be out there. So let's allow it to have a slot.
Absolutely. And I think this is also brilliant that it avoids the ICO, because now Goldman, Gary, the SEC, nobody's investing any funds into these projects. They're putting up a loan offering and then they receive it back. So there's no securities violation here. So anyone in the US who typically can't participate in initial coin offerings for the last couple of years, well, here's an opportunity to be able to participate without having to actually invest any fiat money. You just put up an asset you own already, and then you could let that capital appreciate. So this is a brilliant way, I think, to maneuver around the securities regulations in the US. Because, right, do you agree? There's no way you could say that's a security, because who's investing any money?
Yeah, so I mean, the one thing is, some of these parachains are having public sales of their token. Now, generally, they're not including the US in any of those, but there is no restrictions on US citizens to participate in the parachain loan offerings,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no exchange of value.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the
Brilliant.
one thing. Yeah.
And these networks, then, their 2 years are going to come up and they're going to need to release the parachain. So instead of asking others to put up DOT, the network itself, many of these parachains are going to accumulate DOT in their treasuries. So then they could buy their next parachain lease, they call them, in 2 years from now. So we heard about that with Phala. We heard about that Equilibrium. So what is this now, Patty? More DOT getting storage demand. Storage demand. It's the reserve currency of this ecosystem. So you have 70% of DOT staked right now. 700 million of 1 billion is staked in the network. We haven't even got to parachain loan auctions yet. So this is why, it's not financial advice, it's not tax advice, and we're not trying to, be hypey or hopium here. We're looking at the facts of the tokenomics. Forget the scarcity, and, understand that there's more than utility. Storage demand is huge, and that in itself is a governance token for the network, and a reserve currency is its utility. It doesn't have to do everything DOT. So the way they design the tokenomics around DOT, I think, are just personally brilliant. And we could see it's worked with Kusama. Those parachain auctions are now, rolling out one by one over there in Kusama. And Kusama's really, starting to pick up steam. I mean, it's a top 50 coin, and it's a canary network.
Absolutely. And yeah, to go in, to finish up with the distribution. So like we're saying, about 70% goes to the miners. So 20% of that 70% will be treasury endowment. So that can be used to, get future parachain slots. Like that could be sold for DOT tokens to secure the parachain past the initial 2-year lease period. Additionally, it could be used as grants for developers, or whatever else the DAO decides, or the token holders of the Phala network. And so with this, we can see any TEE device can be registered as a Phala miner. They have a wiki page that explains like how to look into that and see if your device is eligible. But with this, we can see that the rewards decay over time. And every 6 months, they have a 25% halving. So, I mean, I guess it's not a halving, it's like a quartering. I don't know if there's like a term for that, but that's how it will work. So you can see the slope decreases over time. But I think obviously the hopes are that the price has risen, 6, 7, 8 years from now. So the rewards as a USD value is relatively the same, or whatever, fiat or kind of thing we're comparing cryptos to in the future. Who knows if it'll be the US dollar in 6 or 7 years. But yeah, I think it's really great that they're using. I mean, this is one of the largest like token distributions that I've seen go to like participants in the network, whether it's retail or a business doing it or any of that kind of stuff. So I really like to see that. And also the team's getting very little, like 5%. So that says a lot to me.
Yes, and there's actual good participants. You have those computation miners. You have the collectors. What are they? Collectors, they're called?
Collator. Yeah, they call him a gatekeeper on Phala,
gatekeepers. And you have this token now that they have multiple partnerships that I looked into this morning with Bifrost. And they're one of the first parachains that were on Kusama. So you're creating like this little foundational, projects on Kusama, some are, and some are on, going to Polkadot too. So Karora, for example, on Kusama, been a success. Akala's coming. So Phala and Kala on Kusama. So, these projects already have adoption and they're already kind of proving themselves. This is a very unique project though. And Patty and I have, we're going to do more digging into projects that we find unique that have real world use cases and they're going to solve a problem for this market. We both don't believe there's going to be 10 blockchains and that's all there's going to be. I don't think we even tapped into all the use cases, like DM alone coming in there. So now we have this ability to actually get in early. And Phala, with what they're doing with privacy, I think we all are looking for privacy. If they're going to clamp down and they're going to make, KYC and AML and the Fat F, if you could get now, is there going to be compliance on the regulatory front with this? Did they say?
I don't know as much about it yet from what I've read so far, how that will work. I do know that like you can query these contracts and stuff, so it's probably just going to be dependent on how strict the KYC if you need to go somewhere. I just imagine something that needs super strict KYC and AML, or it, can't have confidential smart contracts, just wouldn't use Phala for their smart contracts. So like this is going to target projects that want to provide some kind of privacy to their smart contracts that people are using on the network.
Read quick before this, if you are interested in this, it was just released yesterday, I think. There is a promotion and a liquidity rush on Binance Smart Chain through Pancake Swap. And I think, what is it called? Apocala or something like that. There's another one. They're offering tremendous rewards in liquidity pools, which Patty's been talking about. You put your Phala in against USD, and then you earn a bunch of either cake or I think it might even be Phala too. And it's like a program for a couple of weeks. So if you are interested to look to try to get in early, there are these programs out there, and we're going to see more of this. So get used to this with Flare Finance. There's going to be major liquidity rushes, incentive programs, giving out rewards to boost the adoption. And we're going to see that already, with these different networks. That's what this is all about, incentives and game theory. It's not just about scarcity and just potential utility. So I'm excited. I keep getting more excited about Polkadot, Patty. Every time you uncover something new and you send the project to me, I'm like, wow, they're really doing something that, is going to make a difference, and it's going to create a robust ecosystem there. And I think in the future, we could see Polkadot interoperability with Flare. Absolutely. Because Polkadot's not going to be able to tap into Litecoin and Doge and some of those other projects. Now, would this private computation, be able to operate with bridges to other blockchains like Flare or XRP?
Yeah, definitely.
Really?
Now, I don't know how the smart contracts would interoperate, but what they discuss in the white paper is that smart contracts need to be not just composable within a single blockchain, but composable with other blockchains. So I would imagine by the fact that they have the DM bridge, they have to have their smart contracts have to be composable with what they're building on DM. So I feel pretty good about that's the case, that they could do that. So maybe Phala, they could build a bridge to Flare or, Cosmos or something in the future, and they could provide that privacy, that confidential bridge layer, basically, for people to move back and forth. So that is a possibility.
And I think this also brings in, more institutional and enterprise, especially data provisioning. There's going to need to be privacy on certain applications that are built. And it seems like this network is perfectly built to handle different applications or dApps that need privacy preserving. And especially with smart contract execution, you have that security there on an open standard. Also, before we forget, Patty, they just had a security audit.
Yes, yeah, they had a security audit with, I believe, it's called Chain Guardians, and looks like they passed everything that they had tests for, and they only had one low risk vulnerability, which is something that is not anything critical to the protocol. So that went well for them, which is good to see as well. And then Mickey, also just to touch on here again. So since I think mining will probably be the most likely thing that anybody listening can participate in, right here, the hardware is a computer with Intel SGX enabled CPU. AMD CPUs also have a similar version of this that you can use. And their wiki page, which I'll link a bunch of stuff below in the description, details like how to set that up and how to check if your current hardware is good enough. Additionally, you'll need to have SGX enabled Linux or Ubuntu and public IP for solo mining, or you can join a Phala enabled mining pool otherwise. And then, like we were saying, they'll have a lending protocol. So, like, let's say you don't have $1,500, which with the current Phala token price is what would be required to get enough Phala tokens to stake and be a miner. You could actually share some of your mining rewards with somebody that lends you Phala to stake so that you can be a miner. So they have some different ways for people maybe that are strapped for cash to get in and lend their computation resources, which is cool to see as well. Yeah, but with that, Nikki, I think that touches on pretty much all the big points with this project. I'm going to look into setting up a miner in the future, see how hard that is. If I'm able to do it, possibly have a video coming out for that, depending on how many people are interested. But I'll just have to see with the comments and stuff and what I hear from the Patreon group. But other than that,
absolutely. Yeah. I just wanted to throw one more piece out there. That this has the exact same token supply as DOT, 1 billion, and they're looking to use 70% of that to reward those computation miners. So you could see how there's an incentive mechanism to incentivize a certain behavior in the network that's crucial for it. And this is market mechanism design. And we're going to see more and more of this going forward. It's not just about utility. It's not just about scarcity. Also, we have another project that we're really excited about talking about later this week that we're going to give an overview of. It's not part of Polkadot, but this one I think is a sleeping giant that we'll get into. Maybe we'll do that Friday, Patty.
Yeah, I think that could be a good day for it, for sure.
Yeah, and I think this one might be like a little baby Parachain.
Yeah, Parachain-esque for
yes,
public blockchains. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And before then, I'm going to compare and see if it does have, it seems to me to be competition in a little ways with Quant. And I know a lot of you are, Quant owners and supporters, but they use some of the same terminology of, operating system, decentralization, and they're doing it in a way that I'm not aware of any other project that's done this. So look forward to that. And we'll be putting that out in the future. And hopefully Songbird next week.
Yep, absolutely. It looks like we're getting closer by the tweets we're seeing. So with that, this is the DeFi standard, Patty XRP, and
Mickey B. Fresh.
And we're out. See y'all.